Picture two houses sitting right next to each other under the exact same blazing sun. One feels like an absolute oven inside, while the other stays perfectly cool and comfortable. The crazy part? Neither one has air conditioning. The secret is entirely in how the building itself was put together. One was designed to fight off the heat, while the other basically invites it right in. Most folks think the only way to survive summer is to buy an expensive machine and pay to run it all season. But builder from back in the day knew that a home could keep itself cool naturally if it was properly instructed, shaded, and vented. Honestly, it boils down to three simple concepts. Master these, and you can pull the heat out of almost any building without spending a fortune. I live totally off-grid, completely disconnected from the local power company. Since I don't have central AC to fall back on, I've had to figure out exactly how a structure holds onto heat and how to make it let go. I've already done videos on how to keep your actual body cool and where to position fans, so I won't rehash that. Today is all about the house itself, why it heats up, how to make it stop, and the fundamental fixes that solve the root problem. Before we dive in, just a quick heads up. The traditional methods my family relies on could fill way more than one video. I actually put everything together into a comprehensive book. If you want the full, unabridged version, it's out there, but that's the last time I'll bring it up. Growing up, I could never figure out why my grandmother's old stone farmhouse stayed incredibly chilled on a scorching afternoon, especially when all the newer homes nearby felt like saunas. One day, sweating bullets, I asked him how his place stayed as cool as a basement in the middle of July. Patient as always, he gave me a tour. He pointed out the thick stone walls that absorbed the heat incredibly slowly. He showed me the deep roof overhangs casting shadows over the windows, the massive trees planted specifically on the south and west sides, the small louvered vents tucked on the roofline, and the cupola on top of his barn funneling hot air out. He didn't learn this from a textbook. It was just generational knowledge on how to work with the sun instead of fighting it. It didn't take a single watt of electricity. Walking out of that blindingly hot yard in his cool, dim house completely shifted my perspective. To recreate that, you first need to understand why your house gets hot. The sun beats down on your roof and walls all day long. That surface area just bakes, soaking up the heat until it's scorching. That heat eventually pushes its way through the materials and radiates right into your living space. Since hot air is lighter, it rises and gets trapped up against your ceilings and in your upstairs bedrooms. To fight this, you have three lines of defense: insulation, ventilation, and shading. Think of insulation like an oven mitt. You wouldn't grab a hot pan bare-handed. You use a thick pad to block the transfer of heat. Your roof is the biggest culprit here because it takes a beating all day, metal roofs especially. You absolutely need insulation up there to stop the heat from radiating downward. But here is the massive mistake most people make. They press the insulation perfectly flat and tight against the underside of the roof. To do it right, you must leave an air gap. Wise. Hot air radiating off the roof warms the air in that space, and because hot air rises, it travels up the gap and right out your roof vents. It sweeps the heat away before it ever hits the insulation layer. Insulating with that breathing room does a fraction of the good. Add a light, colored, or reflect roof to bounce the sun's rays away, plus a radiant barrier foil, and you'll drastically cut down the heat entering your home. The same concept applies to mason walls, stone, slopes walls. Soak up heat slowly all day, which is great because it keeps the inside cool during afternoon. But there is a catch. All that stored heat has to go somewhere, and at night, the wall dumps it straight in your living room. If you want to stop your house from warming up just as you're trying to sleep, you need to build a secondary inner wall with an airspace in between. That gap stops the night heat from pouring into your space. Next up is airflow. No matter how well you insulate, some heat is going to get in. It rises and gets trapped near your ceilings and in the attic, making everything feel stuffy and claustrophobic. The solution is giving it an escape route at the very top while pulling in fresh, cooler air from the bottom. Look at a classic barn. They are massive structures packed with animals, and hey, that should technically bake in the summer. How did old builders fix that? They put a cupola on the roof. It wasn't just for decoration. It was a heavy-duty exhaust vent. The hot air rises and dumps out the top, drawing cooler air in from the ground level. You can do the exact same thing with your house. Wind-powered roof turbines or simple ridge vents. Silently suck the hot air out of your attic using zero electricity. Pair that with high wall vents near your ceilings to release trapped heat. To get this working automatically, you want to create what the old timers called the draw. Open a low window on the cool, shaded side of your house and open a high vent on the opposite side. The escaping hot air literally pulls a gentle, constant breeze of fresh air in behind it. It's a natural engine powered entirely by physics. Add in a solar-powered fan, which doesn't lower the air temperature, but ups sweat evaporation on your skin, and you'll feel incredibly comfortable. The last piece is shading, and it's practically foolproof. If the sun never hits your house, the heat never starts. Think of it like opening an umbrella at the beach. Suddenly, you're standing in cool shade. 2. Lock the high, intense midday sun. Deep eaves, porches, or window awnings. But later in the day, the sun drops low in the western sky and hits your house sideways. An overhead awning won't do anything for that. For that brutal afternoon heat, you need vertical protection, tall shrubs, trees, trellises, exterior fins, or shutters. Always prioritize shading your west-facing walls. That's where the worst, most aggressive heat comes from. And remember this crucial rule. You have to lock the sun before it hits the glass. Closing inside blinds might dim the room, but the heat has already entered your house. An exterior awning or a leafy tree outside does infinitely more good because it stops the heat in its tracks. Your local climate actually dictates how you use these tools. In a dry climate, moving air evaporates sweat instantly, making fans and natural breezes feel like magic. But in swampy, humid areas, the air hangs heavy and wet. Your sweat can't evaporate when the air is already saturated with water, making you feel way hotter than the thermostat says. In high humidity, you have to lean incredibly hard on ventilation. You're not just moving heat, you're actively pulling that stagnant, damp air through and out of the house to keep it away from your skin. So why aren't modern homes built this way anymore? It's not a conspiracy. It just comes down to cash flow. It is incredibly cheap and fast, walled, poorly vented bopper thin, bolt an AC unit to it, and let the homo foot the month power bill forever. Building a home that naturally cools itself takes careful thought, time, and intention. But since a naturally cool home doesn't generate a recurring monthly profit for a utility company, the old techniques were quietly phased out. To recap, keeping a house naturally cool comes down to 3 things. Insulate your roof with an air gap so the heat can escape instead of pushing down. Ventilate by giving hot air a way to rise and exit through roof vents, pulling cool air in from below. Shade your exterior walls. Use overhead protection for the high sun and vertical protection for the low western sun. I'd love to hear how your house handles the heat. Drop a comment below and let me know if your place stays perfectly cool or turns into a total sauna. What's it made of? Are you dealing with a dry, baking heat or heavy humidity? I always read your feedback. Next time, I'll be showing you even more traditional tricks for slashing your summer power bills, exposing the quiet ways your house is secretly bleeding energy. Because once you stop leaning so hard on the AC, you won't believe how much money you can actually save. The builders of the past knew how to work in harmony with the wind and the sun, keeping generations comfortable without ever seeing an electric bill.